Okay, teachers, well, we did a whole Zoom session and I realized it did not record. So we're going to do a whole little thing right now, get you the links that you need, and come at you from a different angle. So instead of like really seeing the PowerPoint, this is going to be more of me just talking and explaining, and hopefully that is okay with you. Okay, let's jump into this. So this is just a classroom management refresher, ending the year strong, setting you up for success. You still have probably a little more than a quarter left of the year, which can be a big chunk of time, and that's where behavior can start to fall off for a lot of teachers and students in the classroom. That's why I felt the need for this video to come right now at the beginning of March. So if you don't know me, I'm Lauren Zabegan. I'm the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox. I have been in education for over 20 years now. I have done every role from kindergarten aide. Bulk of my time was spent as a primary classroom teacher, and I was then moved to assistant principal, or became assistant principal, tech coordinator. I have worn the hats, I have been in the shoes, and I have transitioned from that very structured school setting to more of a project-based learning approach to school. So before we go any further, thank you again for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I believe in starting all meetings, all school days with affirmations and getting everything started off on a great positive note, because there is so much power and energy in our thoughts, words, and actions. So here are the affirmations I thought of for us for our gathering today. First, you were made to teach. No matter what is happening in your life, know that you were made to teach. You are growing stronger every day as a teacher. You are not the teacher you are today. You're not the same teacher as you were yesterday. There was growth that happened. It might have only been 1% growth, but there was growth. Every season you go through is a season of growth. And this isn't just in the education world, this is in life, right? You are not going to be the same person today in 10 years. You're going to grow in some way, shape, or form, and your classroom experience is going to be the same way. Tomorrow is a fresh start. I believe this to be true for teachers. I believe this to be true for students. I believe this to be true in life. Every morning you wake up, it is a fresh start, a new beginning. Encourage that with your students. Let them know that that is true. Okay, so here are today's objectives. I kind of already did one. It was 60 seconds, all about me. Then we're going to jump into the 5 key elements of classroom management. We're going to give you an action plan, an immediate action plan that you can start today if you so choose, and then give you a what's next. Okay, so now that I have my plan, what do I do next? So I've already told you I'm the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox, where I support mostly primary educators, but my main focus is helping teachers master classroom management. My niche is classroom management with a focus on social cognitive functions. What does that mean? So inside my community, I teach teachers how to foster the social cognitive functions of memory, will, perception, imagination, reasoning, and what did I forget? Oh, intuition, duh. So those are the skills that we get into inside our community, inside our membership. And we teach how to foster those skills in your students, because they're not necessarily taught those at home anymore, and how to implement the classroom management with it. So it's kind of a unique twist to classroom management. I'm not going to touch on those today. That could be a whole nother chat for a whole nother day, which I'm happy to get into, but I just wanted to kind of make you aware of that. So let's jump into our first key element of classroom management, and that is knowing your values. Here's a question for you. Who is responsible for the culture of your classroom? Think about that for 10 seconds. Who is responsible for the culture of your classroom? Is it you, your students, parents, administration, you and administration? What do you think? All of the above? The hardcore answer is, it's you. You are the ultimate defining piece to creating the culture in your classroom. Now, I will tell you, there are other factors such as other teachers, parents, students, colleagues, administrations. They are other factors, but you ultimately create the expectations, the beliefs, the values of your classroom, within your classroom. And you often probably do this without knowing it, but that's not necessarily a good thing, right? You want to go into your classroom knowing what are your beliefs, what are your expectations, what are your core values, what do you want to instill in your students? Once you have those values in place, then it's simply a matter of setting the systems up to get the values to come to life, basically. So what or how do you want the culture or classroom of your classroom to feel like? How do you want the culture of your classroom to feel? If you can just take 10 seconds now, think of adjectives. How do you want the culture, the community of your classroom to feel? A lot of teachers will say, I want it to be calm, I want it to be peaceful, I want it to be, my students to be curious. My culture for my classroom, I always wanted my students to have fun in a safe and responsible manner, feeling the safety to be curious and to explore and to know that making mistakes is okay. Those were all the bits and pieces to the culture of my classroom. And my students felt safe every single year with that culture. But how do you get there, Lauren, right? Okay, I know what my values are. I know what I think I want my classroom to look like. How do I get there? So here is a 3-step initial steps to creating your classroom culture. And I'm telling you now, this gets skipped in most in-service you go through, most teachers that you see or follow. This step gets skipped. It's not necessarily even taught in your college classes. Okay, so either take notes on this, or I'm going to send the link to the slides, find the slide, and do this activity. This is going to be one of your immediate action activities at the end of this little webinar. So the first step you want to do is journal about your dream teacher life, right? Leave absolutely nothing out of the realm of possibility, because you can have it all. And I'm saying, think about your bank account, think about vacations you want to do, think about life in the classroom, think about your time, how you want to use your time. Everything, pretty much just dream about your ideal life, leave nothing off the table. That's going to be step 1. And it might be a post-it note, it might be pages in a notebook. Mine was several pages long about how I wanted my teacher life to look. The next thing you want to do, this is step 2, reflect on who you need to become to create this version of you. This teacher already exists within you. You have to figure out, what are her values? What are her goals? What are her beliefs? What does a day or a year in the life of this teacher look like? Okay. And again, mine was a couple pages long, especially when I got into what a day and a year look like for this teacher. But that teacher is already within you. You just have to tap into these parts and pieces to figure out, how do I get her to come out? Which is step 3, taking action. So you want to look at step 2, right? You listed out her goals, beliefs, values, actions, or ideal day in life. Now you want to list 3 things you can do immediately today. How are you going to take action? And you might think, well, working out more, that's something I'm going to do. Well, guess what? That's going to feed into your classroom management, because if you go into school feeling good, you're going to have a whole lot more tolerance for what's happening in your classroom, right? You're going to be a lot more aware of what's happening in your classroom. So even though the two may not look like they go hand in hand, it really does all go back to having that solid classroom management. All those parts and pieces of your life, your personal life experiences are just as important as your professional. Okay, so know that. Those small steps are going to add up to who your future teacher self will be. Okay, so now you know your values, right? You're going to do that activity. Once you get those values in place, element 2 is setting those expectations. For this, you want to introduce your students to the concept of expectations. I love using the word manners when I was in elementary, but even more so, the word I'm hearing now is values. Teach your students the importance of values. Why are these important? For safety and having that respectful classroom, right? Now that you know your values, you're going to have a conversation with your students. What is what are beliefs that they have, that they hold true? What do they value in the classroom experience, right? What do they see your classroom community looking like? And what you're going to do is you're going to brainstorm all of those ideas on either, your board, your active board, or chart paper, or what have you. And you're probably going to have a ton of ideas because you want to get ideas, as many as they can give you. But then you want to break down those ideas into 3 to 5 categories, right? If you have a whole list of 20 some ideas, it's going to seem overwhelming for you. It's going to seem overwhelming for them. If you can group those under different umbrellas, 3 to 5 umbrellas, it's so much more manageable. So some ideas of values you might kind of guide your students towards would be responsibility, respect, being a good citizen. Those just might be things that come up as you're creating your brainstorm. Okay, once you have your brainstorm and you have your 3 to 5 values figured out, then if you're able to create a visual aid, go into Canva. It's free for educators. I'm like 99% sure it's still free for educators. Create visual aids, right? Use those posters and anchor charts so your students can refer to them throughout the day. This helps to make the behavior intrinsic. They're not hearing you give the reminder. They're seeing the picture and it's telling them, oh yeah, this is how I'm supposed to behave in line. Oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do during centers. It becomes intrinsic, which is what you want, right? You want them to just do the behavior. This one I'm so passionate about. Model expected behaviors on a daily basis. Model expected behaviors on a daily basis. A lot of you found me because I sent you free sample sets on student behavior scenario cards of the day. And I have 2 decks available, one for preschool through 1st grade, one for grades 2 and 3, because my passion, of course, is primary grades. Those are designed to do this work for you. You put the scenario on your active board, read the story just like you would a little story, or have your students act it out, or use puppets to act it out. However you want to engage, make it engaging, do that. What's comfortable for you. Then on the next slide, you'll have the discussion questions. Have that class discussion. Now you're teaching them, okay, here was a scenario. Here's how we handle this. And then I went a step further and I gave you teacher suggestions. Okay, if this happens in your classroom, here's a starting point on how you can go about handling this. Always, of course, seeking advice from your admin if you need to. The last step of expectations is practicing and reinforcing on a daily basis. I gave sample sets. Those only covered 6 days. The complete set covers, I want to say 175 or 180 days. Every single day of the school year has a scenario that you can incorporate into your meeting and have those conversations with your students. It's just such a great reminder to them, and it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. If you need to take a lot of time, take it. But if you only have a couple of minutes, use the cards, do it in a couple of minutes. They're hearing it, you're teaching them how to handle the situation, and the idea is to get the behavior to be intrinsic. Okay, we're up to element number 3 already, okay? So we have our values, we know we're setting expectations. Now element number 3 is going to be consistency. Okay, here's a question for you. When it comes to classroom management, why is consistency so important? And guess what? It's not just important, it is crucial. I said this in the webinar I did live. If you are not consistent in your classroom management system, it does not matter what the system is, it will not succeed. That's just the reality of the situation. If you are not consistent, it will not succeed. And if you're struggling with classroom management, there's probably an area in your system where the consistency isn't there. And maybe you don't recognize it. Maybe you need somebody to come in and point it out for you. But that would be my guess, is there's probably an area where the consistency isn't quite there. Here's why the consistency is so important. It establishes predictability. Your students are going to know what to expect, and they're going to feel more secure in their classroom when they know what is coming. Those students who have anxiety, that anxiety is going to be greatly reduced because they know your systems, they know your routines, right? This is going to help them to focus more because they know what to expect. It promotes fairness. This is a big one for establishing and creating those relationships you hear everybody talk about. Create the relationship, right? When rules and consequences are applied consistently to all students, this fosters the fairness and trust, and the students begin to appreciate the teacher's authority. They know her to be the authority figure, and they respect her or him as the authority figure. So that's a super important one. The consistency, it will set clear boundaries, right? When you consistently communicate and enforce your expectations, it helps students to understand the boundaries and appropriate conduct. Those student behavior scenario cards, that's what they do. Here are the boundaries, here's the appropriate conduct. This makes them more likely to adhere to the expectation because they know what to expect. They know the boundaries. The consistency, it builds accountability in your students, which is a huge one, especially in primary grades, because you are literally setting the foundation, not just in academics, but in their whole learning structure, their learning experiences in the classroom. When consequences are consistently applied for both positive and negative behaviors, students learn their actions have consequences. They could be positive, they could be negative, but their actions have consequences. The consistency will foster self-discipline, and it helps to develop those social emotional skills within your students. Okay, so that's another big one. The consistency supports learning. Students feel safe, they feel respected, supported in their learning environment, which increases student engagement. And if your students are engaged, guess what's happening in your classroom? You're having fewer disruptions because your students are engaged in the lesson. The consistency builds trust and respect, right back to that whole relationship piece again. So important. When the teacher follows through on commitments, students learn to trust the teacher's authority. There's that authority again, right? This is the foundation for that positive teacher-student relationship, informing that conducive learning environment. So that consistency, again, if it is not there, if you're struggling with classroom management, that's probably the piece that's lacking in some component of your classroom. The fourth element we're going to talk about today is time management. Oh boy, this is a big one. This is one that could be, again, a whole topic on itself. Each one of these could, but this one really could. So before I jump into this, think to yourself, what are the different areas of time management that teachers have to balance throughout a given day? You have 24 hours in a day. We all do. So as a teacher, how do you give your time throughout your day? You have your personal care, you have your family responsibilities, and you have your responsibilities to school. Notice I put family before school. Notice I put personal before family, right? You have to be strong and in a proper zone before you can take care of your family. When your family is taken care of, then you move into school. I hope you teach in a building and work in a building where it is family first, because it is so, so important. I have a freebie, and if you email me or just send me a message, however you want to communicate with me, my email is lessonplantoolbox, all one word, 44119 @gmail.com, and I will send you so many freebies. Actually, when you get this link, I'll probably just put all the freebies with this link so you get them. But I have a weekly planning guide where it literally breaks down Monday through Friday. What are you going to do before school, during school, after school? If it is not on your sheet, you say no to it. Sorry, I don't have time for it. I cannot do that. And it is okay to say no, and you don't have to give people a reason. Once I started implementing this sheet in my life, it completely changed how I use my time during my school day. It completely changed my whole mindset with being able to say, no, I'm sorry. Like I'm not going to be able to make it. And I didn't give an excuse. I would just say that I'm not going to be able to make it. So, time management inside the classroom, we're going to kind of dive into just specifically a school day experience instead of like the whole person. We get into the whole person experience inside our community, inside the Lesson Plan Toolbox networking community. But let's focus on just the classroom piece because we're all obviously educators here. First and foremost, you have to maximize your instructional time. Use of your instructional time effectively will minimize disruptions, right? When the kids know, like, oh, the board's not working or that she's not ready with this, that's when the chatter starts and that's when it's hard to get them back. So you want to keep students engaged, and you're also going to realize the more engaged they are, the more you're getting covered. I can't tell you how many classrooms I have subbed in as of late, and the teachers who have strong classroom management, it flows like a well-oiled machine. The ones who don't, I go in and the assignment's done in like 10 minutes. And I've said to the principal, like, wow. And she's like, well, I kind of think, in a normal day, that's what gets done. So just be mindful of that. If you have maximum use of your instructional time, your students will be engaged, you'll get more covered. You also want to maintain classroom routines, right? This goes back to that consistency piece. If you are consistent with your routines and your schedules, you're helping to create a predictable learning environment. It's going to reduce that anxiety because your students know what to expect. And then this includes your classroom meeting structure. So if you do classroom meetings, you want that to be consistent. Your transition between subjects, you want that to be consistent. And then your classroom procedures, you want those to be consistent. So there's different elements of consistency within your classroom flow. Next, you have balancing priorities. You have a lot to manage in a given day. There are so many days where you're probably ready to pull your hair out because you don't know how you're going to get it all done. One, that weekly planning guide is going to help reframe that mindset to show you that here is how I'm going to manage this. But also take this advice. You want to prioritize your tasks, right? Set realistic goals for yourself and allow appropriate time to complete your essential duties. If you are in making videos and doing recordings so you can post on social media, those aren't essential, and that's kind of eating up your time. So be mindful of that. When I realize how much time I spend sometimes posting on social media, I'm kind of like, that's maybe not the best use of my time. And I might go a day or two and not post. And does the algorithm get mad? Yeah, sure it might. But you know what? That's not my goal. My goal is to maintain a healthy mindset for myself, not to necessarily feed an algorithm. Managing transitions. This could be a day in itself, couldn't it? Time management and managing transitions. This is essential for minimizing disruptions in the classroom. I cannot tell you how many teachers I help come up with smoother transitions. Like the lesson is great, but then when they go into the next lesson, it takes them a good 3 minutes to get the kids back together because they don't have that transitional piece in place. So to help with this, be sure you're giving clear instructions to your students. Make sure you're using visual cues if you are able to, and practice the transitions, right? Don't just assume they know how to pass papers. Don't just assume they know how to get books off the shelf. You have to model all this for them. And at the beginning of the year, this is very easy, right? Those first couple weeks of school, you're spending the time, you're doing this. At this point in the school year, you can still do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to kind of slow up the pace today, and we're going to practice these skills, right? Pick 1 or 2 to practice a day, master those, and then pick another one. And you'll be amazed how those small little pieces will build into a solid classroom management routine flow. Individualized instruction. You want to allow time in your day for individualized instruction. We all know this, right? You might be allocating time for small groups, for one-on-one conferences, whether it's for reading or writing or behavior, or just personalized learning. What I want to remind you of is your higher level students, those higher tier kiddos, they don't need you to hold their hand through every assignment that you give them. They don't need you to hold their hand through every task that you give them. You can then free up that time that you would be meeting with them to meet the needs of those kids who need more direct instruction, right? And that's kind of how you balance that. a little bit. So don't feel like your higher level kiddos that you have to, again, hold their hand through everything. Give them freedom and independence. They're going to thrive on that more than likely. And then you have that time to meet with your students who need that more direct instruction. Okay, time management with flexibility and adaptability, another big one for educators. You have to be prepared to adjust your plans as needed to address emergency issues, to address, accommodate for student needs, and to take advantage of teachable moments. That happens. I was always the teacher where, yes, this is what my plan said, but this is where the lesson went. Take the time, do it, go for it. Okay, this feeds into element number 5, which is preparedness. How is a teacher supposed to handle all this? The consistency, the expectations, all of this, the time management. How are we supposed to handle all this? You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. Why is the preparedness so important? Because you're setting expectations for your students, right? Prepared teachers, you are better equipped to establish clear expectations for behavior, for academics, and for classroom procedures with your students. You establish a structured environment where students know what is required of them and how to succeed. If you are a prepared teacher, it's going to minimize disruptions in your classroom, and you know that as well as I do. The days you're prepared and you're on, everything flows. The days where you're like, I'll kind of do that tomorrow while they're doing X, Y, or Z, stuff happens and it kind of becomes a disaster. It builds up and you kind of are like, whoa, I had a crazy day today. The preparedness helps the teacher anticipate potential challenges and you become proactive in addressing them. Rather than reacting to it, you're putting out the fire before the fire happens. Preparedness allows you to adapt to student needs. This is a big one in this day and age, right? Prepared teachers can more easily adapt their instruction to meet the needs of diverse learners. Promoting engagement. Prepared teachers are able to deliver dynamic lessons, which will spark curiosity, which keeps your students engaged, which minimizes class disruption. Keeps coming up, doesn't it? Handling unexpected events in the classroom, which happen probably every single day in our classrooms. And if you're a principal watching this, you know it happens every single day in a school. Whether it's addressing a student's emotional outburst or handling a tech glitch or responding to a medical emergency, the teachers who are prepared are more likely to remain calm, to make quick decisions, and to react in a way and take action in a manner that is ensuring your students' safety and their well-being, which is what every administrator wants from their teachers. And then the preparedness establishes your credibility, right? When you're a well-prepared teacher, you demonstrate your competence and professionalism, not only to yourself, giving yourself like the confidence to be a professional educator, but also to your students and your colleagues and your administration, right? You're establishing your credibility. I am ready to go. If you are running around scrambling every morning, making copies and all that, it's kind of like, okay, let's take a step back here. How can we shift this to be more proactive, to make, my preparedness better? Okay, those were your 5 key elements. So it's your values, setting expectations. Once you have the expectations in place, you have to be consistent with your expectations. Focus on your time management, and then be prepared. Those are your 5 key elements that all kind of foster into classroom management. Here are your immediate action steps that you can start doing today. Create your vision plan. I'm going to send you the slides that go with this. Well, I think I'll send you actually the one slide that has the vision plan on it, because that's the most important one. I'll take a screenshot of that and send it to you. But this slide, take action on it right away. Know your values, know your goals, know what you want your ideal classroom to look, sound, and feel like. Do that immediately. That's your immediate, if you do nothing else from this little webinar, do that, please. Your second one, this is an easy one, and you are welcome to join us. I do a free Facebook group. I organize it. I don't want to say I run it, but I organize it. I guess I do run it. It's called Mastering Classroom Management Book Club. And it's literally, we read 1 book a quarter, focusing on student behavior, classroom management, and we just kind of talk about our experiences and how to grow together, right, on this journey of education. It's completely free. Come in, have a chat with us. The more the merrier. Number three, your immediate step is begin to set an expectation and teach your students how to meet those expectations. If you have not yet received my sample set of the student behavior scenario of the day cards, if you are pre-K to 1 or a grade 2-3 teacher, I am happy to send you the sample sets. Even if you're not, if you just want to take a look and see what they kind of feel like, I'm happy to send them to you. Email me, lessonplantoolbox44119@gmail.com. I will get you all of this information. And then if you are somebody who is feeling so desperate and you need just a little more support, send me a message. I will Zoom with you. We will talk through whatever challenges you are facing. This is all about servicing teachers and helping you grow. I've been that teacher who felt like I had no place to turn. Nobody should feel that way. You have a place to turn. I am here. I will help you. We will figure out a plan and how we can get you on the right path. So what is next? Okay, I have my immediate plan. This is what I do. So what's next for Lesson Plan Toolbox? What's next for this whole webinar experience? Well, first and foremost, thank you again for being here. I know it's Saturday and there's probably other things you'd rather be doing, but the fact that you're here shows that you value your students and education, and we cannot thank you enough for that. And if you're a primary teacher, props off to you, because you are the ones laying the foundation for all of the growth that are going to happen in those students. And we don't really understand, I shouldn't say understand, we take for granted the impressions we make on these students in these early years. But if you are interested for the rest of the year, whenever, we have a membership. It's called the Primary Teacher Networking Community through Lesson Plan Toolbox. You simply go to lessonplantoolbox.com. If you're a teacher, click on teachers. If you're an administrator, click on administrators. And there's different flows for each of them, but I'm going to talk to teachers right now. If you're a teacher, it's $20 a month. You join our community, you're going to get the support that you need. We do classroom management Zoom sessions. We do mindset retreats. We do roundtable Q&As, co-working sessions, give you as many free resources as I possibly can. I know a lot of teacher friends online and they love sharing their freebies. So I pump you full of resources. It's such a great experience. So that is open to you. What I did, because I felt the need for this, my energy was telling me like I need to do something more for teachers and administrators to support teachers. I came up with a spring offer. So if you purchase the student behavior scenario of the day cards, you get both decks of cards. You are also, as a bonus, going to get affirmation cards that you can use with your students on a weekly basis. I should say the 2 decks of the behavior cards, it's 175 scenarios. Preschool through grade 1, 175, grades 2 and 3, 175. So if you buy the spring bonus, you're going to get both sets of cards, which is pretty amazing. Then I added on student affirmation cards that you can include into your morning meeting, add an affirmation in. And then I'm also tacking onto this, because again, I feel the need, a 5-month membership to the Lesson Plan Toolbox Teacher Networking Community. It's $47. I mean, it to me, this seems like a no-brainer, especially if you need an extra hand in classroom management right now. My whole idea is to end the year strong and get you set up to start next year even stronger. After the 5 months, if you want to stay in with us, it's $20, stay in with us and keep the community going strong. We love teachers to death. Inside the community, I have little surprises that I'm probably going to wait until summer to share with everybody, but I can't wait to announce it. That I think they're kind of going to be like, for $47, I get all of this. So I'm super excited about that. If you just want the student behavior scenario of the day cards, we can send you those too. Absolutely. And finally, if you're watching this and you're still here, if you're interested in more of just these videos where you can pop on and watch them, I'll send them to your inbox. I love doing this. This I don't know. It was very fluid. It just came from my heart, came from my brain, came from my experiences. This was very easy for me to put into a little webinar. I am happy to share more of these with you. I know I'm at 35 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap this up because I only wanted it to be 30 minutes. But if you have any feedback for me, or if you want me to keep doing these, I am happy to do it for you. I love servicing teachers, helping you however I can. And we'd love to see you inside the community so we can get to know each other better and support you even more so. So again, I am Lauren Zbiegin, the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time today. Have a great rest of the school year. Hopefully we get to communicate more and reach out to us. The website that has all this is lessonplantoolbox.com, or email me lessonplantoolbox44119@gmail.com, or reach out to me if you Facebook Messengered me, or find me on Instagram, TikTok at Lesson Plan Toolbox. So get a hold of me however you want to. I'm around. I'm here to help you. All right. Talk to you soon.